What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. Hope you're all doing very well. We are back on the Shadow Priest, baby, for 10.1 PTR. I was looking at the updated tier set bonus that came through, and I got to try it in an Uldamon dungeon as well. We're going to get into all that. I tried to queue for a better dungeon than what I ended up getting, but there was nobody on the PTR. There's literally nobody on the PTR at all. So I actually was on with Towley earlier. I did a key with him. And he was sitting around waiting for hours as well. There's a hair. Right there it is. I got it. So, anyway, I only did a +10. But the point is I got to test the new tier set bonus with all the new talent changes. Let's dive right into it. Let me look at the tier set bonus first, okay? So, it used to be kind of all about Mindbender. It was like every 400 insanity you spend gives you a Mindbender. It's not about that anymore. Increases the chance for Shadowy Insight to trigger by 25%. That is your instant cast Mind Blast. Right here, okay? So, by 25%, when consuming Shadowy Insight, your Mind Blast deals 30% increased damage, generates more insanity. Cool. Devouring Plague damage up by 15%. Every 4 casts of Devouring Plague increases the damage of your shadowy apparitions conjured within the next 10 seconds by 80%. Okay. Very interesting. You can see the buff in the top corner of my bar here. Every 4 casts of Devouring Plague. So I'm at 3 out of 4, right? So if I just generate some insanity here, I'll get the 4th one going here. Okay. We'll build up some power here. What you might want to end up doing with this set is sort of like getting ready. So here's my 4th one. I'm about to launch it right now. Boom. Now I'm in the window. I have like 10 seconds here to conjure a bunch of shadowy apparitions, and they're going to do 80% more damage. So that's how it works. Now, what you might end up seeing is you might want to play around this a little bit. If you're running, say, like a Void Eruption build in particular, you're really going to want to, like, trigger this tier set bonus and then go straight into your Void Eruption, because Void Bolt summons shadowy apparitions when you cast it. Of course, that is one of the biggest things that I want to touch on, is that Void Bolt is the extra button that spawns shadowy apparitions. We have Mind Blast, Devouring Plague, and Void Bolt. If you run Dark Ascension, you're not getting access to that 3rd shadowy apparition spawner. Of course, we also get shadowy apparitions from Shadow Word Pain, but the main 3 abilities are going to be obviously Void Bolt, Mind Blast, Devouring Plague. So it's interesting. I don't know what we're going to end up seeing. I ran Dark Ascension in this build because I wanted to try a Mindbender build again to see if it kind of worked. Let me just update you really quickly again on how the talents have changed. I talked about this in my other video. Shadow Crash is a 20-second cooldown now. Your dots last for 21 seconds. So you can have this up all the time now. You'll see it in the dungeon. Inescapable Torment, 1-point talent. Malediction, 1-point talent. So Inescapable Torment doesn't do as much damage as the 2-point talent used to do, but it's actually better overall because it's more efficient. It lets you spend those points somewhere else into more powerful talent points, which I would say Screams of the Void is a huge talent now. Devouring Plague causes your Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch to deal damage 80% faster on all targets for 3 seconds. So it means they're ticking much faster. And guess what? Our Shadow Word Pain ticks have a chance to spawn Tormented Spirits. Or sorry, Shadowy Apparitions. Our Shadow Word Pain ticks have a chance to reset the cooldown of Shadow Word Death with the build that I was running, which was the Deathspeaker build. Shadow Word Pain ticks also have a chance to apply Echoing Void. So Screams of the Void feels pretty central to me. It feels pretty essential to almost any build that you're kind of running, especially if you're trying to conjure as many shadowy apparitions as possible, which you're going to want to be doing with the 4-piece bonus. Okay? I think that's pretty important to talk about how Screams of the Void goes. So this is the build that I ran in the dungeon. There were 2 other Shadow Priests, and they ran different builds. One of them was running a Void Torrent build with Idol of Cthulhu and Malediction. I don't think he had Insidious Air, but he had Yogg-Saron line and Idol of Cthulhu line. The 3rd Shadow Priest, I don't know what he was running. He didn't really do as much damage as me or the other guy, okay? Just keep that in mind. But this is the build that I ran right here. I'm focused on a Deathspeaker build, instant cast, 1-minute burst window with Dark Ascension and Mindbender. That's what I'm going for. And the Deathspeaker helps to enable Mindbender's damage with Inescapable Torment. Remember, Deathspeaker is now Shadow Word Death is a 10-second cooldown now, which is amazing. And you're going to see in the footage how many times I got to cast it. So let's just dive right into that. Let me jump into the footage. I've got some good stuff. I'm going to skip right ahead to the 140 mark. Where is it? Let's just look right here. 140. This is where it gets really good. So we finish off this pack. There's one of our first sort of AoE packs going on here. I threw Shadow Crash here not knowing the warrior was going to pull more, so I felt like an idiot here. So did not have optimal dots here. You know, keep it all in mind that I'm not going to be playing this perfectly. Skada over here. Skada damage, I kind of hate it, but it's working right now. So, and Details isn't working on the PTR, so bear with me. We're peaking here. We got 113k. We're only hitting like 5 targets. And again, what's really cool here is the Shadow Word Death stuff. So we're now the enemy is within that execute window where you cast Shadow Word Death and you get the cast back. So I hit Shadow Word Death there, and then he dies, and I hit another Shadow Word Death. So anyway, we did 132k right there really quickly in our window. Our window does so much damage. Our burst window is really, really good. Then he pulls even more, and I was like, oh, God damn it. I didn't think he was going to pull more. But guess what? Shadow Crash is back because it's a 20-second cooldown. Now, unfortunately, I missed this one guy. So I'm pumping all my damage into this one guy, and I totally forgot I didn't have my regular dots on him. I'm kind of sad about it too, but we still did decent damage there. But one thing that's really cool about the 20-second Shadow Crash is that it means your dots are up all the time. You're able to cast it all the time, and even in non-optimal situations, it's up for every single pack, which is really cool. I didn't really have my burst window going here with Dark Ascension until later on. So I'm kind of keeping up with the damage right now. And then this Evi guy, he goes into Void Eruption mode, which is just, he starts blasting on this boss. I get my Dark Ascension up now, but there we go. I don't really have PI running anymore, but here we go. We're going for it. I'll get my Shadow Word Death procs going here. First one, Shadow Word Death right here. Boom, I get a reset. Another Shadow Word Death. Boom. Now, they're basically dead, unfortunately. We're doing 90k. Could have been better. Again, it's a plus 10. It's really hard to understand kind of how this is ramping. I would say overall, though, you can see that the 2-minute Void Eruption build is probably better. But we're going to see some really amazing pulls coming up here with my Shadow Word Death procs over and over and over again. It's really, really cool to watch that happen. So just keep that in mind. Here we go. Next pack. We're up to 127k. Just boom. Right out of the gates, baby. Boom. I'm not even in my Dark Ascension build. We also did have Entangling running, and there were multiple times that Entangling was going on, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even notice. I ended up getting stunned right here. You can see that go off. Later on, I do end up getting rid of the stun. Let me show you really quickly. We take Phantasm now on Shadow Priest. Activating Fade removes snare effects. This gets rid of Entangling. Not a problem for us at all. It was a problem early on for me because I'm an idiot, but it's not a problem at all, guys. I promise you. Your Fade comes up almost every single Entangling. I had Fade coming up like 2 seconds later, so it felt really good. Here we pull the second boss. This is Bromok, and I start off having to reapply my dots, get into Dark Ascension now. Boom, here we go. And then Mind Games, we're going now. Our damage is going. We're at 64, 72. We're going to start spiking here a little bit. I do get my Shadow Crash off later as well. I was running, I get stunned again by Entangling because I'm an idiot. I was running Divine Star, or, you know, it's like Dark Divine Star, which is pretty cool. There's a second Shadow Crash. Evi's doing way more damage than us because I think he has Void Eruption going. So again, probably the build to play. Good for him. Really good stuff from him. He's doing 130k. We catch up a little bit here on the back half because we start getting, we actually get our PI back. This is so sad. I get my PI back, and if this boss had lasted a little bit longer, I would have been able to do crazy amounts of damage. So I do Shadow Crash into PI. I get 2 charges of Shadow Word Death. Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death. I could have done it 4 times there. I only got to do it 3 times. I was so sad. We did 97k at the end on that boss. Perfectly fine. I'm perfectly happy with that. And if it had lasted like an extra 10 seconds, we could have kept Shadow Word Deathing, because I Shadow Word Death during the execute window, so I got the refresh on it. Then I Shadow Word Death again. Then I got a proc for my Shadow Word Pain damage, so I Shadow Word Death again, and then I got another proc on my Shadow Word Pain damage. So really, really cool. And you can see that this build is really mobile. We're stuck on the Entangling again. It's really mobile. I have my Devouring Plague I can cast. I didn't get an instant cast Mind Blast there. There were instant cast Mind Blast, Divine Star. It's all instant cast, which is super cool. Shadow Word Death procking twice here. Get to do it again and again. Again, we're doing 102k right now on this pack. So very cool that way. Tank dies, not a big deal. We end up just kiting backwards, and the tank comes back, and it's all hunky dory. Here's a boss fight. This is single target. My damage is quite bad on single target. It wasn't super great. If I had PI up here, my haste values are really low, and it's really sad. I also get knocked back into the next orb here, which is really dumb. You don't want to do that. So this is a big mistake. Our damage is like kind of okay right now, 50k. There's an entangling. I think I hit fade here. I hit fade right there, so it clears the entangling for me, and I think, yay, I'm out of the woods. And then he knocks me right into this stupid orb because I'm an idiot. Boom, I get stunned. Don't do what I just did, okay? We're doing okay damage, but we lose a lot because of the stun, and this build doesn't have anywhere near as much damage, I don't think, on single target. It's lacking some single target damage for sure. You're not getting a Shadow Word Death procs as much because there isn't as many Shadow Word Pains all over the place having a chance to proc for you. So the Shadow Word Death stuff is not as good. But again, we do get one off here, and it's not bad. It's not bad, guys. We're doing 40k by the end here. I get a Mind Games at the end. We're at 40k, right? We're only 5k behind. So if I played it better, it would have been better. Okay, here's the next big AoE pull. Dark Ascension, Mindbender. Here we go. We're proccing him right away with Shadow Word Death. Divine Star. We're out to a healthy lead here. But that, and then watch this. Evie just pops off here. He goes crazy. He has triple mind, triple proc on Idol of Cthulhu. Right? He's just going absolutely crazy. 200k spike for him. Really, really good. I don't know what the damage numbers are supposed to look like in this dungeon in terms of like what you're supposed to spike at. Because again, the pulls are all wonky. You're only ever getting like 3 to 5 to 7 people in a pull. This next pull that we do after this triple pull is a little bit bigger, but it's still not super great. Again, the beauty of this build that I'm running is that you always have relevant damage. Every single trash pack, you basically have Shadow Crash into your Dark Ascension Mindbender window. It's really, really fun and really relevant. And with the resets that you get on Shadow Word Death, it's really cool. There's my first Shadow Word Death right there. That's number 1. Okay. I'm going to get a proc on it here. Proc number 2 is coming. Oh, no. Maybe it's in the next fight. Oh, here's proc number 2. There's a proc that's second Shadow Word Death. Then third Shadow Word Death right there. Then fourth Shadow Word Death. I got another proc on it. You see it has 2 charges. Then fifth Shadow Word Death. Like, you can just get them back to back. I did 92k right there. You can get them back to back to back to back. It's really, really cool. Now, I have 2 charges of Shadow Word Death going into this pull. Watch this damage. Shadow Crash, Dark Ascension, Mindbender. I'm in PI. I still have my 2 charges of Shadow Word Death here. I go Death into my Devouring Plague into Death. Then I do another Death here after Devouring Plague. And then I get a proc on Death. So I do Death again into Mind Blast, into Devouring Plague. I got there's another Death proc at the very end. I had like 5 Shadow Word Deaths in that window. Evie did 190k. I was doing 160k. So, like, not bad at all. Watch this. We double grip the tank here. He doesn't know where he's going. Watch this. We get that guy grips, and then I grip. That's pretty cool. Anyway, the damage is pretty good, and you are a little bit reliant on the Shadow Word Death procs. I know a lot of you guys don't like that gameplay. I understand why. However, let me just encourage you a little bit. Shadow Word Death is only a 10-second cooldown now. It's a 10-second cooldown, so it comes up all the time. And you're encouraged to spend it, and then when you get it in those execute windows, you get an additional proc on it, right? Again, so it's really cool how many procs you end up getting on it. I really enjoy it. My damage on this fight, once again, was very bad compared to Evie. Evie popped off here. It looks like he got a couple procs of Cthulhu right away, and then he's going ham. So really good damage out of Evie. Once again, I fade to clear entangling. Remember, you can fade to clear entangling. So great damage here by Evie. This is where his build is much better than mine. Probably better overall. We're just going to have to wait and see. But he really pumped on single target. Now, here's the next Shadow Word Death pop-off moment for me. I run forward here. I get Dark Ascension here with Mindbender. I just cast those abilities. Here comes Shadow Word Death, baby. Again, we're tunneling all of our damage into the target that has our Devouring Plague on it, okay? That's first Shadow Word. There's second Shadow Word Death. Here's third proc of Shadow Word Death right there. Here's fourth coming up. There's fourth. And then we have the fifth one here. Like, it's just really cool how many Shadow Word Deaths you can get, man. It's insane. We did about 100k, almost 98k on that pull. Really, really cool. Then the tank does a big Giga pull at the end here. This is a lot of stuff that he pulls together. I don't have my cooldowns up yet, but they're coming. Okay, they're up right now. So here we go. Dark Ascension time. We're doing 90k without our cooldowns, without our 1 minute cooldown. Here comes Dark Ascension plus Mindbender. And boom, now we're doing even more damage. 102. Shadow Word Deaths are going off now. Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death. There, I had to clear my entangling. We're settling at about 100k there. Not bad at all. Evie was a little bit ahead of us because he had his Void Eruption. So again, very good damage out of him. Shadow Word Death, boom, boom. Look at how mobile. We're just running and casting the whole time, which is super cool. Then I don't have Shadow Crash up for this pull. A little bit sad, but guess what? It's coming up in 5 seconds here, so not a big deal. I get the stun debuff on me, so I just Dispersion and run away. Then I can go Shadow Crash here into some extra damage. We get Entangling, but I can clear with Fade. Fade's coming off cooldown. It's like clockwork. I'm telling you guys, Fade will be up all the time for you to clear Entangling. It's not a big deal. I promise. There's our damage. We're a little bit lower than Evie. Good. He's doing really great. Last trash packs here. We get the Hasten debuff. I tried to Master Spell this a couple times, but I don't know if the other priest did as well. But we're doing good damage here. Look at this. Boom. We're popping off. We can just pop off. Like every pack, basically, you can do really relevant damage. That's what I love about this build. Honestly, it's so much fun for that reason. Okay, big Shadow Crash. We're going Shadow Word Death. Shadow Word Death. We got a proc on it. Shadow Word Death number 3. Divine Star. We're hoping to get a Shadow Word Death proc here. Once again, we're just kind of waiting for it. There it is. Shadow Word Death right there. Boom. That's Shadow Word Death number 4. If I proc it, I'm procking it now. Get the Execute reset. That's 5 Shadow Word Deaths. I Master Spell everybody there to get us back. It's just really cool. I really enjoy the Deathspeaker playstyle. I love getting all these procs on Shadow Word Death and trying to game it a little bit. And then we'll do a couple Shadow Word Deaths at the end here in Execute. Boom, boom. Yep, there you go at the very end. And we were basically tied with Evie for damage. So pretty good. Now, I think they fixed the RP on this dragon because he spawns really early now. So here's the final boss. This is Chrono Lord Delios. Delios? I don't know his name anyway. We're going to go here. We don't have Bloodlust, so imagine if we have Bloodlust. But our damage out of the gates is not bad whatsoever. We'll proc a Shadow Word Death here into the Devouring Plague. And then we're trying to just obviously stand on the haste buffs that come through here. Entangling is going to come up as well. And again, we can just clear it with Fade. So you want to be... There's Entangling right there. You want to be a little bit careful with your Fade. I don't know how relevant this is going to end up being. Like, I don't know if you're going to be really upset to have to use Fade on Entangling versus using Fade for damage reduction. I do know in higher keys, Fade is very, very important for damage reduction. I understand that. So there's other ways to get out. You could put a Feather under your feet. You could Shadow Word, Power Word shield yourself to just run away really quickly. Like, there's lots of ways to fix it, guys. So you don't have to just use Fade. I just think it's an easy option if you don't need to deal with the damage reduction problems. Now, we're running, but we're casting at the same time. Instant cast Mind Blast. Shadow Word Death is instant cast. Here comes our 1 minute window. Mindbender, Dark Ascension. We got a Deathspeaker proc right away. Reapply our dots. Big haste for the finale here. Boom, boom. This makes all of our dots tick faster as well. And if all your dots are ticking faster, you're going to proc Shadow Word Death and all that stuff much more easily. We settled at about 4k less damage than Evie did there, maybe 5k. So really good overall. And I looked at the damage overall. It doesn't show it here in this key, so it's kind of sad. But I think the damage overall is something like 80 to 90k. It shows here 98.8k. That's not what it is, I promise you. I think we were probably underneath Evie, but we probably did about 80 to 85k overall. It's hard to gauge it because it's adding in a bunch of other damage that I had from testing dummies and stuff. There's no clean way to do this right now. Skada and Details are both kind of bugged. So I tried my best, but I couldn't really get like a clean version. But just know, I think that this build is actually pretty competitive, the Deathspeaker build, and it also affords you a ton of extra mobility. When you get these Deathspeaker procs, man, you're just popping off and moving, casting, moving. Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death, and you're just moving and grooving. Shadow Crash is instant cast, of course, every 20 seconds. Your instant cast Mind Blasts are obviously instant cast, and you're getting a ton of them from the tier set bonus, 25% increased chance. Very, very good. Your Divine Star is instant cast, and of course, your Mindbender, all the stuff going off from him is proccing from your Shadow Word Death and your Mind Blast, which again are both basically instant cast. So I love this build. I think it's really good. I think you get way more procs on Shadow Word Death in your Mindbender window now because it's a 10-second cooldown and because of things like Screams of the Void, which accelerates the Shadow Word Pain damage and it makes it proc it a lot more often. So I love this build. It was smooth. It was decent. The damage was fine. It was very mobile. I really enjoyed it. So there are other builds. I think Evie was running, again, the Void Torrent build with most of the Cthulhu damage coming through there, and then Yogg-Saron for all the extra auspicious spirits, or tormented spirits, all that kind of damage. So I think there might be multiple builds for Shadow Priest to run. We're just going to have to wait and see which ones are really kind of the best. But I really wanted to test Deathspeaker and show it to you guys and show you that I think it can still be relevant in 10.1. Okay? Thank you guys so much again for watching. I love you all. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. A little quick note here. I'm still only 410 item level and my haste is really bad. So this is like completely unoptimized. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Thank you so much again for watching. I will see you in the next one.